Welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Tony Paletta. I'm with Cleveland State University's marketing department, also helping with the Bernie Marino Center for Sales Excellence. Today we are talking with Gabe Rhoads from Lubrizol. He is our featured closer for today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it off to Gabe. He's going to introduce himself as a little different twist here to the program and tell you a little bit about Lubrizol, and then we'll get into the questions. So if you have any questions, please hold them to the end. We'll have a nice opportunity for everyone to ask questions. So take it away, Gabe.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tony. And hello, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Gabe Rhoads. I'm a Senior Director of Sales in North America for Lubrizol Additives. And if you don't mind, I'm going to start off with a quick video about Lubrizol. So hopefully this works. And then I'll follow up with a few slides that tell you a bit more about Lubrizol and about me. And then we'll open it up for the more informal dialogue. So.
Every year when we prepare our company report, it's an opportunity to look back at the accomplishments of the past year and also forward to the potential we see ahead. And this past year has certainly been challenging for all of us, and I'm proud to say that the Lubrizol team has helped address some of the world's most significant challenges, like improving health and hygiene, reducing emissions, extending equipment life, reducing waste, and improving the lives of billions. We help the world move cleaner, create smarter, and live better in ways that only Lubrizol can. Our employees were at their very best this past year. We all learned to work in different ways while supporting the needs of our customers and our communities. I want to thank the entire Lubrizol team for their incredible dedication, their resilience, and their commitment to our customers, to our company, and to each other. Because of them, we enter 2021 a much stronger company with the potential to do much more. We see clear potential to do more. In our additives business, we'll continue to innovate to further reduce emissions, extend equipment life, and minimize environmental impact in a variety of industrial and transportation applications. We see great potential to do more across our advanced materials portfolio, where we're addressing the real-life needs of billions of consumers. Our life science team will continue to enhance health and hygiene, and will continue to introduce sustainable innovations in a variety of industries through our coatings and polymer technologies. We see exciting potential to do more in new markets through Lubrizol's corporate ventures team. This includes energy and thermal management solutions that will increasingly be in high demand in an increasingly electrified future. Throughout all of our work, there is an intense focus on sustainability. We're committed to do our part to make the world a better place. We're also committed to build upon the culture of our company with an accountable, empowered workforce that is truly inclusive, where different ideas, perspectives, and experiences are not only welcome, but they're celebrated, where talented people can be their absolute best. We're excited about our potential because of the tremendous partners and customers we have around the world. I want to thank all of our customers for their support, their partnership, and their commitment. We are dedicated to your success. Our potential to help the world move cleaner, create smarter, and live better has never been greater. I hope you'll see why when you explore this year's Lubrizol Company Report.
All right, so I took advantage of the fact that we just released our new company report this morning. I believe it was either last night or this morning. So you got a brief glimpse at our president and CEO, Eric Schnurr, who's here at headquarters based in Wickliffe, Ohio. That's where Lubrizol is headquartered. And you get a little flavor of our key mission. I'm going to share some slides now. It won't take me long, just to walk through a little bit more about Lubrizol so we're well grounded, and a bit about myself. And then I'd be happy to address any questions. So I'm going to do one more share here. Go.
Okay.
All right, just a bit more about Lubrizol. The company itself is split into two big business units: Lubrizol Additives, which is where I work. We're the global leader in performance additives. That's basically specialty chemicals that go into automotive and industrial lubricants. So the motor oil that you change in your car, hopefully very often, the transmission fluid, a variety of industrial lubricants that are working either in off-highway equipment or in any type of metal cutting or metal forming application. In addition to a variety of base oils that are used, there's significant doses of performance additives or specialty chemical products in those lubricants. For example, if you buy a quart of Pennzoil off the shelf at Walmart, up to 20% of that could be technology that Lubrizol or companies like us provide. So that's a little bit about Lubrizol additives, and we'll touch more on that in a minute. The second part of the company is called Lubrizol Advanced Materials. It's in a variety of specialty chemical areas, some of them extremely interesting in the last year in particular. There's a health and science business. We sell chemistry that goes into things like hand sanitizers, which in the past year was a significant need globally around the world, and a variety of other applications as well. So the traditional Lubrizol is a Lubrizol additives, and there's also this advanced materials area, which is vastly different markets, vastly different customers, and vastly different opportunities. So it's a fun place to work at Lubrizol. I've been able to work on both sides of the business and see a little bit of both sides. So I've had that experience in both areas of Lubrizol, and it's been really fun for me. You heard our CEO, Eric, talk about move cleaner, create smarter, and live better. This is our mission going forward, and there are specific targets associated with what we're doing in our businesses. In the area that I work in, the lubricants side, we're really focused primarily on the move cleaner and create smarter. And if you think about a lot of what we do with lubricant additives is helping to reduce emissions by improving vehicle fuel economy. So we put a variety of different additives into chemistries and into lubricants that improve the fuel economy of vehicles and therefore minimize emissions. And we're proud to say that, roughly 50% of the cars on the road today are using Lubrizol technology. So we're a big global company with big global reach. We're also focusing on creating smarter, improving the circularity of our products and our customers' products as well. This is the Lubrizol Advanced Materials business. There's just some examples I just mentioned, the life science business. We also have areas in engineered materials. I happen to manage for the last couple of years the Estain engineered polymers business, but there's a whole host of specialty chemical areas on the Lubrizol Advanced Materials side that are, like I said, vastly different from lubricant additives. And therefore, it's a nice diverse portfolio that Lubrizol has, both from a business perspective and also for opportunities for people to work. And I'll go quickly here, but I mentioned I managed the Estain engineered polymers business for a couple of years on a global basis. These are some of the applications that Estain, which is a thermoplastic polyurethane, so a TPU plastic, whole host of different applications. The cool thing about TPU is you can, by your molecular design and by how you make the polymer, you can make it hard or soft, brittle, very abrasive resistant, very flexible. There's a host of things you can do with the technology, and it goes into all sorts of cool applications. So one of the neat things is when I was running this business, my kids thought I was a lot cooler. They could relate a lot more to me in this business than they could talking about axle fluids or transmission fluids. And very briefly, as I mentioned, Lubrizol additives, this is a part of the business that I currently sit in. We make a variety of performance additives that go into engine oils, transmission fluids, axle fluids, industrial fluids, and also fuel additives. So a whole host of applications in this space. It's an interesting market. We'll get into it probably with some of the questions. We typically buy a lot of our raw materials from big oil companies, big refiners. We make specialty chemicals out of them, prove the performance of those products, and turn around and sell it back to those big oil companies. So we have a unique position in the marketplace, and it makes for an interesting part of our business and part of business strategy that we'll probably touch on in some of the questions a bit later. Now, a little bit about myself. I'm a lucky guy. I grew up most of my life here in Northeast Ohio. I'm now 44. I had to update this slide this morning. I had a birthday earlier this year and a wedding anniversary just this past week. My wife and I are blessed with 3 kids. She's a medical doctor at Metro Health. So she's been going to work every day this past year. My kids have been going to school pretty much every day this past year, and I've been sitting at home, work from home environment. So it's been an interesting and weird situation for me, and of course, probably many of you as well. You can see my 3 kids there. I won't read all the details to you, but we stay busy, stay active, and stay crazy, but we try to have a lot of fun too. A bit about me from an academic perspective. I grew up in Mentor. I graduated from Mentor High School in '95. To some of you, that probably sounds like a long time ago. For me, it feels like just yesterday. My glory days playing soccer, both at Mentor and at Akron. I am a chemical engineer by training, and also got an MBA at Cleveland State while I've been working at Lubrizol. So I'm a fighting cardinal from Menor. I'm an Akron, Zip, Fear the Rue. I did polymer research at Kimberly-Clark, and I'm also a Viking from Cleveland State. And I think this wraps up my slides. This is a bit about me from a career perspective. I started at Lubrizol in July of 2000, which is right after I graduated. I had a couple technical roles early in my career. I was a process development engineer working on our pilot plant, which basically means I was supporting our plant with any quality issues or concerns they had, and also scaling up new technology, new products. I then moved into a project manager role in automotive gear oils. So for automotive gear oils means things like axle fluids and transmission fluids. And as a project manager, I was responsible for product development and kind of overall management of projects that we were working either with customers or in some cases directly with OEMs, whether it's someone like GM or Ford or Chrysler in North America. Then had the great opportunity to go to England, Hazelwood in the UK. We have a business and research center there, and I spent 2 years as a product manager for automotive gear oils. So product manager is more of a commercial role, working on pricing strategy, overall product line strategy, and customer interface. So I was very fortunate to live in England, live in Europe for 2 years. And I returned back to Wickliffe, Ohio, here in Cleveland as a regional business manager for passenger car motor oils. Then spent 5 years in sales. So there's the connection to sales, and I come back to sales here in a bit later in my career, but spent 5 years calling on one of our larger customers. I was based here in Cleveland for that assignment as well. I then managed one of our larger businesses for a couple of years before moving over to the general manager of the Estain Engineered Polymers business that I just mentioned on the other side of Lubrizol. And back in October timeframe roughly is when I started the current role that I'm in. I'm Senior Director of North American Sales for Lubrication Additives. I've got a team of about 25 or so account managers and some support staff working for me, based in Cleveland and Houston primarily, but there are some folks outside of those two centers. And those folks have responsibility for all of our sales in North America, including our large global sales to customers that are headquartered in North America. So large oil companies, energy companies like Chevron or ExxonMobil that are based here in North America. My team also has responsibility for our relationship with those folks. So that's a brief snapshot about me. Just almost 21 years now at Lubrizol, and enjoying every minute of it, like my son Henry down there on the right hand side.
Thank you, Gabe. Real quick on this slide, I just have a question. So obviously, between the years of you starting in the technical aspect, learning about the product you're selling, which is so fundamental to sales, is understanding your product and how your product can benefit your customer. What other aspects of your personality or engagements that you had within Lubrizol, obviously they saw in order to put you into a business management / account manager aspect. Can you talk a little bit about that transition from being more of the project manager, making things work, into the actual customer facing role?
Yeah, great question, Tony. So I'll start by saying this. As I mentioned, Lubrizol is a specialty chemical company, so a lot of our sales can be very much grounded in technology, understanding the products to a certain extent, understanding the chemistry to a certain extent, although not too much, especially in the roles I'm in now. But there's definitely a technical aspect to it. A lot of folks at Lubrizol are like me, started in technical roles and then moved on to business roles. And the same is true at our customers. A lot of our customers, a lot of people that we're talking to, selling to, partnering with, have various technical backgrounds. But that's not exclusive and not always the case. And in fact, we've made conscious efforts at Lubrizol over the last 10 years to make sure we're also hiring non-technical folks into commercial roles, into sales roles, because we recognize that those folks, people like yourselves on this call, bring unique skill sets into the sales environment, into the commercial environment that maybe we can't fully train all technical folks to transition that way. I think specifically to me, through my early time in the technical roles that I was in, when I had the chance to interact with either customers or suppliers, I was always interested and drawn to that interaction, drawn to that excitement and the deadlines caused by the commitments that we're making externally. And that drew me to looking to find additional opportunities for that kind of interaction, external interaction outside of Lubrizol. And that kind of pulled me towards more commercial roles over time. So that was my rationale and reasoning for wanting to do it. And I must have done a good enough job that the management believed in me and believed in that process and asked me to take on some of these more commercial roles going forward.
Now, were you put through any type of sales related training when you accepted that role? Or is this something that just organically through the years have picked up kind of thing?
Yeah, good question. And it's a mix. The answer is mixed. There is definitely a lot of organic kind of learning that goes on as we're in our day-to-day jobs and doing things every day. But along the way here, there have been a variety of specific commercial training, sales specific training as well. And we are constantly trying to refresh that training amongst our sales force and now my team. For example, we adopted the Challenger training course probably 5 or 7 years ago now, maybe, and really I've begun to adopt that and tailor that to what we feel we need. But that's a lot of making sure that our account managers are focused on consultative selling, value selling, making sure we truly understand our customers' business and how we can help them be successful. That's a key part, I think, of our conversation is where Lubrizol sits in the lubricant additive space and the lubricants in general are relatively low growth market, right? Globally, things are still growing. China and India, other markets are still growing and more cars and trucks are on the road. But also oil lasts longer and longer and you have to change it less and less. So the overall volume growth of our business is a low growth market. And so we have to find other ways to make sure that we're growing profitably and that our customers are growing profitably. It's not a one-time sale for Lubrizol to be successful. It's really an ongoing business relationship with that customer. And if they're successful, we will be successful. So we spend a lot of time with our sales force. It's not about capturing that sale necessarily or closing a deal. It's closing the right deals and making sure that we're positioned to help that customer be successful in the marketplace. So a lot of our training is based around that, consultative and giving our guys the confidence, our people the confidence that they can challenge the customer's strategy, plans, philosophies to really make sure we're helping them be successful.
So to that point, can you tell us a little bit about some of the deals that you have been a part of and some of the relationships that you helped kind of foster at the beginning of the relationship, if you had that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about building a new relationship, there are examples of those, of course, every day. We have a fairly established customer base and overall business, so that is less of the norm for us, but that still exists. And of course, people change at customers all the time as well, so you're building relationships. For me, what it boils down to is establishing trust. Establishing trust that you're going to meet your commitments, whatever you've committed to. It's whether it's as simple as following up on an action item that you took from a meeting, or something more complicated and strategic in terms of we're going to supply this much product at a certain time. But building trust from a commitment standpoint, and probably also for us, importantly, building trust from the customer feeling that we truly have their best interest at heart. It's not about making a sale, it's about growing a business with them. And once you get to that point where the customer feels that we're in it together and we're building something together, I think that's really when the relationship begins to grow and blossom. You have to work on that over time and build that trust with the customer to really get to that point, but it's critical that you get there. If they feel they're getting sold something rather than building something together, it's a totally different conversation.
Do you have any specific examples you could share of a good relationship that you've fostered over time?
Oh boy. let's see, I don't want to get too specific with customer names, but yeah, what we do with, try to do with all of our, we have a mixed customer base as any business would have. So we have very large oil company customers. I mentioned folks like Chevron or Shell or BP or Valvoline. We have relationships with all those players, and building and maintaining those relationships is critical to our success. And it's not just one salesperson that's empowered for that relationship. They need to manage it. They are the quarterback, if you will, or the conductor of the relationship. But we strive to have many touch points, many different levels of relationships. So, so folks like myself in the more senior roles and above me have contacts with those customers at similar levels in the organization. We also have subject matter experts throughout our businesses, whether it's an expert in motor oil or transmission fluids. They develop their own direct linkage and relationships with the customers. And so those relationships exist as well. One of the things we're trying to get a better job of at Lubrizol, in fact, is formalizing that customer relationship management process. We have a CRM system that we're using now that wasn't true 10 years ago, and we're getting better at that every day, but it's still an area for us to continue to improve. Making sure we're formally planning that relationship process, and then driving for success and results, and using the data from that system to really drive our next best decision and next course of action.
Which system are you using?
We use Microsoft Dynamics. I know there's a variety out there, but we use Microsoft Dynamics.
Yeah, I used to work in Great Plains Dynamics way back in the day before Microsoft purchased it. Shows how old I am.
Yeah, it's an extremely powerful system. And like I said, we're still learning every day how to use it better and better and make it feel more like the data turns into business action, business decisions, rather than simply a feed the beast mentality from our sales force. We're trying to turn that corner where it feels like it's helpful to the sales force, not just asking them a bunch of questions.
Perfect. Absolutely. Great. So let's talk about how do you go about establishing new relationships or new partnerships for new products that companies might be manufacturing to add, Lubrizol components to that. How does your sales force go about fostering, new opportunities?
Yeah, a lot of what we start with is trying to understand market insights. So why would a customer need a product like this? Whatever we're talking about, whatever the opportunity is we're trying to create, really understanding what our customers' business looks like and where they're going to go with this product line, and providing them some insights. Depending on the customer size and scope, I mentioned large customers. We also have a variety of smaller customers in the region. Depending on their size and scope, they, in some cases, we may have more market intelligence about, say, a new lubricant specification that's going to come into the market, or a new type of powertrain that will need a new lubricant to, so the OEMs are coming out with a new type of powertrain that requires a different lubricant. Oftentimes, because of the technology development life cycles that we are working on, we could be working on that for multiple years before it would ever hit the market. And therefore, we have a lot of good insights and intelligence that we can bring that would be meaningful to our customers. Mm-hmm. So to really build those relationships and new opportunities, we need to bring interesting and valuable information to our customers first, something that's going to be impactful to their business. It's not just, hey, trust us, we're Lubrizol, you need to buy this product. That's not going to work. It's really about, hey, we know this is coming. You may not be fully aware of it yet, but here's why you need to know about it. And also, in many cases, we're trying to create a sense of urgency. That's an important part of the sales process. Here's why you need to know this now. And if you don't take action now, here's just some of the things the consequences that might come to bear on your business. So it's really bringing them meaningful, impactful insights about their business, what might impact their business, and then walking them through that journey together of how we can help them be successful.
What does your sales cycle look like?
Yeah, it really depends, but it can be quite long. If we're talking from a product development, from the initial stages of a product idea, we could be talking years, we could be talking multiple years. If it's an established product and we're just looking to perhaps steal market share from one of our competitors, or win a piece of business that we don't supply today, then that can be quite shorter, much shorter. We could be talking months. But the buildup from a relationship and business opportunity perspective can still take time, both on our side and on our customer side. Once you've established an ongoing relationship with a customer and a product line, our products are in their storage tanks, in their plants. The other pieces of material that are used in the final liquid formulation are also in their plants. And so it's not an easy switch necessarily to take one product out and put another product in. So it can still take multiple months to actually drive to completion. It's common for us to take several months to over a year to close on a deal and an opportunity that we've created.
So as we said, relationship is so vital to sales, just building relationships, maintaining relationships. What are some tactics that you encourage your sales force and yourself and your senior leadership? You said you had different touch points in different organizations. What are some different tactics you use to maintain that relationship over time? You said a lot of your customers have been with you for a long time. How do people change roles, people grow in and out of the organization, within Lubrizol, within your customers' organizations? What are some tips and tricks, tactics you guys use to keep those relationships strong?
Yeah, great question. So like I said, the account manager is typically the quarterback or the conductor of the whole orchestra. There are very common for us to have ongoing technical interactions with our customers. So the subject matter experts from our team and the customer's team are interacting frequently. That might be monthly, that might be more frequently, depending on whatever they're working on. The account manager is working at their level with their appropriate contacts and above as needed on an ongoing basis, right? But we also try to build relationships where I might be calling my counterpart every so often. It could be monthly, it could be quarterly, as a check-in. If I know that something specific is going on that we need to address, maybe it'll be more frequently than that. And then we also establish with many of our customers things like steering committees, where the leadership of both companies would get together on a periodic basis. It might be a couple times a year. Establish the right priorities that we want our teams to be working on together, air any challenges or obstacles that are in that way, and see what we can do together to overcome it. And then just stay on that cadence that we're regularly touching in with multiple levels across the organization. But the key really is the account manager, is the salesperson, orchestrating all that, making sure that the senior leadership on our side is aware of the key targets, the key priorities, and any pitfalls that might come up, and how we should address them. We need to stay coordinated. We need to stay on one message, and the salesperson's role and responsibility is to make sure that happens.
So I want to talk about that role real quick. So you did speak to the fact that you do have technical people that go into that role, but you also are taking non-technical people and putting them in that account manager role. What types of skills are you really looking for in that non-technical person in regards to their sales acumen, to bring them into your organization? What skills do you really look for?
Yeah, so I'll start with the basic fundamentals, which is just being a good person that meets commitments, follows up as appropriate, good communicator. Those are kind of table stakes, that you communicate well, people understand what you're saying, and also you follow up on your commitments. But then beyond that, it's really having a good business mind, someone that can think bigger than maybe the deal they're working on, or a lot of the relationships that we have are quite strategic. There are big decisions being made in terms of our ability to supply a certain customer, their willingness to accept our product versus going to one of our competitors. So it's having a good business sense and a good business acumen to make some of those decisions, strategic decisions, and make the right deals. We have people technically very good that can manage the technical details of our products and can help you sell those. We're really looking for people that think strategically, have good business acumen, and can see the bigger picture of the deal, rather than getting in the weeds of the specific product details that we might be working on. That's the balance that we're looking for. We want people that can do both of those things. And we recognize at times, if we rely too heavily on people that have a big technical background, they may they may fall into those weeds more quicker and miss the bigger picture of the business deal and strategic deal that we're really working towards.
Absolutely. Do you bring in your new employees, your new account managers? Do you put them through, of course, any type of technical product training? Is there a couple weeks that they have to dedicate? Do they go hang out on the floor in the clean room to learn about the product?
Yeah, there's a fairly kind of detailed and formal onboarding process that we take folks through to not only learn kind of our systems and sales acumen and those sorts of training that we put them through, but also our product training. We have a deep and broad product line across Lubrizol additives, and so it's more than 2 weeks to really learn our product line and understand it. It really depends on the level of depth that the account manager feels they need to get to really understand it. To get a broad-based understanding of all that we have to offer, it can be a few weeks worth of time, but to really understand the product line, it'll take months, if not longer. And so much of our business partnerships and interaction with customers are customer specific. They have certain base oils they use in their plant. Does our additive work with those? Okay, that takes technical knowledge, and over time you build that experience and knowledge by doing rather than just by trying to be trained on every detail. It's really difficult to catch up on all that. You learn by doing, and you learn by the support team that you have in place to help you with that customer.
So how do you keep your team motivated to continue to be fresh and help them succeed and build their relationships and maintain their relationships since you're kind of over them? How do you keep them motivated, and what motivates you?
Yeah, great question. And the world really changed in the last year. Many of my team, and I think myself included, really enjoy one-on-one interactions or face-to-face interactions, and being on the computer is a whole different ball game. I find we've tried to use different tactics to make sure people stay motivated, excited about the job, excited about the opportunities. There's only so many Zoom happy hours or Zoom corny things you can try before they all start to feel stale, but we're still doing that. Hopefully as many of us get vaccinated, that'll change, but that does remain a challenge. One thing that motivates me is trying to make the job fun, right? We're all going to work hard. We need to find ways to enjoy what we're doing. Not everything is easy, but it doesn't mean it can't be fun. And so I try to, where I can, I try to pull that into the conversation, pull that into my day-to-day working, make sure that we continue to smile, make sure that even when times are tough, we recognize that we're very, very much worse things we could be doing right now. So try to keep things fun, lively, and exciting. Of course, in addition to that, you talk specifically about motivation. Obviously, we have salary programs and incentive programs and things that try to incentivize certain areas of focus that we have, certain areas of growth that we might want to focus on, and we might put an emphasis there on our salary plans. So a variety of different things in that way as well. But ultimately, I think it comes down to personal interactions and making sure folks are having fun at their job, and hopefully they see me having fun. And there are times where I probably need to catch myself and say, you know what, let's get above this and keep going forward in a positive momentum fashion, and don't get bogged down in negative thoughts or negative details. But it's not always easy. We got to make it fun.
Now, this will be my last question. I'll open it up because you brought it up and I'm curious. So when COVID first hit, how did you go about rallying your troops to kind of change the dynamic, in your relationships with your customers? Because we all had a transition. I know as an educator, we had to quickly move things online. How did you, as this global company, transition? And then what parts of that worked well, and how did you adjust that as we went through this?
Yeah, it was quite a time. It was quite a time for all of us, right? So what I remember about it is the good thing at Lubrizol, and probably other large customers or other large companies, is Lubrizol had a what we called a global pandemic team. So there was a team of folks that were focused on these sorts of eventualities. Most of us didn't know they existed. I didn't know anything about it, but there was a small group of folks that were scenario planning these sorts of things. And I think for us, that group was created after some of the previous SARS and other things that were almost big issues globally, but didn't happen on a global basis. Lubrizol was getting prepared in case something like this did occur. My memory is what happened, obviously chatter started in China first, right? And our teams in China and Asia were sent home first. And it was a major event. And of course, it got all of our attention, but it still felt far away for folks here in the US and elsewhere. But then in a matter of a few weeks, that all changed. It came to Europe very quickly and then us. So in addition to our people in China being sent home very quickly, there were travel bans instituted pretty quickly at Lubrizol. We had to justify any travel pretty quickly. And then soon after that, there was no travel. So it all felt extremely quick, and it was, but that was what everyone was in. Now, in terms of how did we adapt, I think we adapted just by doing. One interesting thing I would say on having a global team, with our headquarters being in North America, in a typical team setting, a lot of the folks in a meeting would be in North America with a few folks from around the world. That's typical for Lubrizol. So in a normal setting, we'd be in a conference room in North America in Cleveland, Ohio, and then a few people on the phone or on their computers around the world. What COVID did was switch that all around. Now we're all on the computer. And now all of a sudden, the voices that maybe we weren't hearing or paying as much attention to on a global basis have a similar footing as everybody else on the call. And that's been an interesting dynamic, and I think it's been a good one and a powerful one for us to consider. The other thing I would say, and to kind of wrap up, especially in the sales environment, we've done specific training on the various virtual platforms exist. So we're on Zoom today. We run Microsoft Teams at Lubrizol. Some of our customers use WebEx. There's probably one or two other ones that I'm forgetting. We're working through with our sales force to train them on just the fundamental working of these things. It's hard to figure it out while you're in a call, while you're in a meeting. You really need to set time aside to make sure you're practicing. So when you get into the setting, you're on point and ready to go. Early on, we were all fumbling. Customers, us, everybody was fumbling on the software. But that point is past now. And if you don't know how to operate these things, it can be disruptive to the call and ultimately disruptive to the relationship. So we've focused on some specific training with our sales team to make sure they are proficient in using these tools. It's important.
Awesome. Gabe, this has been great. So I'm going to open it up to students. So we have about 28 participants. So let's see what questions they might have. If you want to, you can either raise your hand using the Zoom technology, go to participant window, find your name and raise your hand. Or you can go ahead and ask a question in the chat. All right, Al, let's start with you. You can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question.
Hi, so you had mentioned that on your account manager team that the folks that y'all are recruiting don't necessarily have to be those technical folks because you already have folks in place or teams in place for that. What are some of the degrees that you look for to fill those positions? Like, let's say someone had a poli-sci degree as their undergraduate degree and then is working towards an MBA. Is that someone that you're looking for? I know you touched on more of like the skills you're looking for as opposed to the education, but I'm interested to hear the education background that you're looking for.
Yeah, so specific, good question, Al, thank you. So specifically for the roles that we would be hiring in our sales force or in our commercial organization, that we're looking specifically for that kind of background. We would be looking for some degree that would link to a business. So MBA, obviously, yes, that makes sense. Other sort of business, even bachelor degrees would be interesting to us, and we have a history of hiring those types of folks as well. It would be difficult for us to make the connection in your case, like you said, maybe a poli-sci without sort of an MBA or something. It would be hard for us to make that leap unless you had other work experience or other things in your portfolio that would make it feel like a closer fit to a sales role or a commercial role. So definitely some sort of business degree or an MBA would help us make that link, especially if you started off with some degree that was not business related.
Okay, next is Helena. Go ahead, Helena, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, my name's Helena. I'm a junior here at Cleveland State University, and I'm studying finance, and I also play on the women's soccer team. Well, I actually have an interview tomorrow for retail sales internship at Franklin Templeton, and I was wondering what like skills to emphasize in my interview to really like catch their eye, keep them interested. I don't know, just some tips.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, good luck at the interview.
Thank you.
Boy, and what kind of role did you say it was? It was retail sales. So
Yeah,
you'll be on the floor somewhere selling.
yeah, it's a retail sales internship. I'm actually from Canada, so it's a Toronto based.
Okay.
And in the job description, it was more on the phone, talking to clients and selling.
Okay. Well, some things that come to mind. A very personable demeanor. You know, high energy. People are going to want to buy from somebody that's excited about that product themselves. If you're not excited about the product, it's going to be very difficult to get the potential customer excited about it. And actually, that's something we talk about internally at Lubrizol as well. Hey, if we're not excited about this opportunity or whatever we're trying to position, the customer never will be. So bring that belief, bring that confidence, and bring the energy to the conversation that you're having. I think that's important. And maybe that touches a little bit on what Tony was asking earlier about how do we keep people motivated. That's an important thing to always consider. What are you bringing to this conversation that you're having, and making sure you bring the energy and excitement to it, because if you don't bring it, maybe no one else will. So those are some things that come to mind, Helena. I'm trying to think of anything other specific that I would think of. Obviously, you're in finance, so you have an idea of business acumen, of understanding how to make money, where the money is, and so you could highlight maybe some of those connections as well. But in a retail environment, I think it's all about customer service, bringing high energy, bringing motivation, and then of course follow up with that customer when they have questions or need you to come back to them with additional information.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Zach. Zach, go ahead and ask your question.
All right, thank you. Hi, Gabe. Actually, I'm also a Lubrizol employee who has gotten some exposure between LZA and LZAM. I'm currently doing my MBA at Cleveland State.
Fantastic.
But out of curiosity, thank you. Out of curiosity, I had a question. So you have experience managing businesses that are vastly different. So the industrial consumer engine, and then the Estain business. What were one or two things you did differently when you were approaching managing those two businesses?
Good question. So first of all, one thing I learned through that process, and it was a great experience for me to see different businesses, is when you boil things down to the fundamentals, there are a lot more similarities in business than there are differences, especially in terms of how you need to manage them. You know, what's the process to identifying opportunities and leads and closing on those? What's the process to identifying longer term strategic needs, how we make those choices, and where are we going to put our investments? Whether you're talking about motor oil or you're talking about TPU that goes into tennis shoe applications, those fundamental business questions remain the same. And that was fun for me to kind of figure that out on my own and really recognize that even though I don't know this new business very well, and I don't know the markets very well, I can ask some of the same fundamental business questions and help my teams make good decisions. The other thing I would say specifically, those businesses were dramatically different. The market growth rates of the businesses are different. The customers, the application types are vastly different. And so it really comes down to what processes, especially for me, when I moved over to the Estain business, what processes do we have in place or do we need to build to help us make better decisions more timely on where we're putting our investments, where we're moving forward and expecting growth, and where do we need to say no and not broaden our resources or stretch our resources too broadly. So those are some of the things that I learned through that process, that even though these businesses can be drastically different, when you boil them down to the basic fundamentals, there are a lot of similarities, and the types of questions that you need to ask are very similar.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
All right, Majid. Nice to see you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, nice to see you, Tani. This is Majid, and I'm basically a mechanical engineer, and I'm graduating this semester MBA at CSU. So my question, thanks. My question is about the new markets. So I have two technical question about that, how the development of the electrical cars has impact on your business. And my second question is about the any product that Lubrizol has for aerospace in terms of lubrication. So do you produce a special type of lubrication that is used in the zero gravity situations? Thank you.
Okay, great. Good questions. So the first question on the electrification of the vehicle park and impact on our business. Yes, there's an impact on our business. It's not as quick as everybody might think, but it is over a decades, a couple decades horizon. We can see that impact. The reason why I say it's not instantaneous and quick is because if you look at the trends of the vehicle park around the world, we still see growth of the internal combustion engine, for example, in places like India, China, and other developing markets. So the need for lubricants will continue to grow in those spaces for a long time, and the vehicle park takes many years to turn over. So there's still a future, and a bright future for even passenger car motor oils for the foreseeable future. Having said that, we are also active with the OEMs that are designing these new electrified vehicles. A lot of them require fluids for what's called thermal management of the batteries. If you charge the battery too quickly, it can get too hot. So there are interesting fluids that are needed to manage that thermal process of battery charging, and Lubrizol is very active there in that space. And in fact, our CEO touched on that in the brief video that I showed you. So yes, there's a potential impact to our business over the long term, and we are actively pursuing opportunities in that space as the vehicle park becomes more electrified. On the aerospace question, just happens to be Lubrizol is not specifically active in the aerospace industry in terms of additives. Many of our customers are, and in some cases, some of our products may even be used in the aerospace industry without our full knowledge, but it's not an area of focus for Lubrizol currently.
Okay, Al has an additional question. Go ahead, Al.
Hey again. So I thought I remember seeing in the video a point about diversity in the workplace, and looking at the website, seeing like the leadership team, mostly white folks, and 3 women who are all vice presidents, senior vice presidents, while most of the males are either presidents or senior vice presidents. I'm just curious to hear like what's being done when the company, promotes diversity. What's being done? Is there some type of like program that's being implemented internally that's training folks to move on up the company? What does it look like?
Yeah, good question, Alan. There's a lot of activity at Lubrizol right now. I don't know how much is on our website myself, so I'd have to click around a little bit, but I can tell you I'll give you a range of answers here. There are specific goals for increasing the amount of diverse folks in our leadership roles. There are specific number goals over the next few years to increase that. So our CEO and our leadership team has put out those specifically to improve that balance, like you're mentioning on looking at our leadership team today. We've also rolled out over the last year, and I think it's probably true at a lot of companies, but definitely at Lubrizol, a focused D&I initiative and training session for our management, making sure that our managers are aware of our kind of goals and policies in this area, and also starting a conversation on diversity and inclusion more so than maybe we ever have before, making sure that people feel comfortable having some uncomfortable conversations. There's been a lot of social unrest and upheaval in North America and the United States in the last 12 months. We're having conversations about that. We're having conversations about that internally with our teams, and also at times with our customers. It's become more and more common in the chemical industry to start meetings with a safety moment. We're doing a similar thing with diversity and inclusion, D&I. So we're trying to drive that culture and that culture change throughout the company, that we not only value, but we really are looking for diverse talent. It really helps us improve our business performance. and it's something that we believe in, culturally at Lubrizol. So there's a lot of activity going on in this space right now for us.
Professor, am I allowed to ask like a follow-up just briefly? I don't
Can
know.
we be related to sales? I mean, we can take the other stuff off as a separate conversation if you'd
Oh,
like.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we only have a few more minutes left. Does anyone else have any additional questions for Gabe as well? We have him on the line. I have a question for you, Gabe.
Sure.
So what types of internship opportunities does Lubrizol have for undergraduate students and graduate students to kind of get into your organization?
Yeah, great question. There, as we talked about earlier, we're definitely a technology-based company, so there are many more examples and probably more formally established internships and co-op programs in our engineering areas. And also our chemistry areas. So I would say more established there. There's less frequent, less established, but still there are examples where we have done some internships with folks that have business degrees, whether it's MBAs or undergraduate degrees. I think my memory is much more frequently on MBA students that we've brought in for various internships, and then when it made sense, look to hire full time. So there are examples. It's not quite as formal as or established as on the technical side of our business.
So what advice would you give an undergraduate who one day wants to go and work at Lubrizol or in general trying to get into one of these large organizations in Cleveland? Do you suggest finding a mentor? Do you suggest shadowing opportunities? What are some suggestions you might have in regards to new graduates getting into business?
Those are two good ones. I would also add where you can find it. Internships and opportunities like that are really huge so you can learn and have experience to talk about when you're in an interview setting or what you're going to bring to the table. So finding work experience that's relevant, whether it's an internship or even in your part-time job that you might be working on through school, if there are ways that you can tie that to what you're doing with your degree, where you want to go in the future, it would be an excellent way to kind of make those connections for a potential employer and show that you're serious about the type of training that you're getting in college at CSU, and also applying that to help a company be successful in the longer term.
Awesome. Well, moving forward, you'll definitely be hearing from me because I do want to see if we can't, once the pandemic kind of subsides, if we can do some more, maybe have travel to your headquarters and get a little tour and meet some of your account managers and get some insight from them. But real quick, I do want to remind the participants to fill out the poll. And I'm going to take a moment real quick and share my screen and talk about the sales center. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen. Someone tell me if you cannot.
Yep, we can see it.
Thank you. So the sales center was built based on a generous donation by Bernie Marino. Bernie Marino is an immigrant from Cuba, and he made his money in the auto industry and really believes in sales and really feels that sales is a fundamental skill, and we agree with him. So the sales center is located on the 3rd floor of the College of Business. You can get to it right off the interlink, which is great. In there, these are pictures from the sales center where you can go and practice your sales skills, practice persuasion, practice building relationships with clients. We have individual briefing rooms where they're all videotaped so we can watch our students perform sales skills for their courses. So it's a beautiful facility. We also have a student organization that students get together and work with sales competitions. And the biggest part of our program is the professional sales certificate. So this is an undergraduate certificate for students in business and throughout the university that want to learn sales skills. A lot of the elective courses are courses that students have already taken. So your your business communications, your introduction to management, introduction to marketing, business and government kind of courses, business communication courses. So there's a bunch of elective courses that students might have already taken, which nice is they only need 2 additional courses to complete the sales certificate. So there's 4 courses total. A sales certificate really can set you apart from other students that just go and get a bachelor's degree. So we do encourage, especially business students, to get the professional sales certificate. But if you are outside of the College of Business, especially if you're in the health sciences or in engineering, sales will definitely set you apart from others in your field. We also have a minor that was introduced this year. It's more robust, focused on professional selling. So if you're interested in really honing your skills in the sales profession, we do have the professional selling minor. You just need to talk to a business advising to get signed up. It's literally a check mark on your transcript, and working with your advisor to make sure you fit in all the required courses to receive the certificate or the minor. So we have quite a few graduates of the program. Every year we're getting more and more, and we're really proud of them. We keep winning sales competitions and making really good placements in national competitions. So I want to thank Gabe here for being with us today, because if it wasn't for people like you investing in CSU and spending your time here sharing your experiences with our students, where would we be? Gabe, thank you so much. Everyone stay safe in this wonderful spring weather, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.